Hello, church, and welcome back to these virtual sermon videos. I know that we'd all prefer to be done with COVID and all of its restrictions, and we'd all like to be worshiping in person. And I appreciate your understanding and your patience as we've hit the pause button on our in-person worship. We're doing all of this and everything that we can as a church to try to keep you and your loved ones safe. I'd also like to mention that if you know of someone who cannot worship with us virtually and who would like to please encourage them to reach out to the elders or myself or someone, as we would like to help remove any of the obstacles that might prevent them from worshiping with us virtually. For today's video, I would like to read to you from Luke 17, verses 11 through 19. The word of the Lord. On the way to Jerusalem, Jesus was going through the region between Samaria and Galilee. As he entered a village, 10 lepers approached him. Keeping their distance, they called out, saying, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." When he saw them, he said to them, "Go and show yourselves to the priests." And as they went, they were made clean. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, he turned back, praising God with a loud voice. He prostrated himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him, and he was a Samaritan. And then Jesus asked, "Were not 10 made clean? But the other 9, where are they? Was none of them found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner?" And then he said to him, "Get up and go on your way. Your faith has made you well." Now, over the course of this pandemic, I have released a couple of these videos on the topic of being thankful, and this is the next. I cannot stress enough how important being thankful and having a thankful mindset is for each of us, especially this year. But rather than have you count your blessings, or to look on the brighter side, or to find hidden gems amidst a pandemic, this time I encourage us all to remember everything that God has done. It would be easy for us to take so much of what God has done for granted, and like the 9, we might forget to return with thanksgiving. It's easy for us to grow comfortable with these words like forgiveness and mercy and grace and salvation. And if we grow too comfortable, we might be tempted to forget how worthy of thanksgiving these things really are. For so long, we have basked in the generosity of God, completely overwhelmed with forgiveness and grace. And when we live for that long with such an abundant amount of anything, of course it might be easy for us to forget how to be thankful. But for just a moment, well, hopefully more than a moment, but at least for one moment, pause this video and remember, truly remember how incredible it is that God can so abundantly give us grace and show us so much mercy and so freely forgive us. None of it was deserved. We didn't earn any of it. And we take advantage of the abundance, and we don't even always remember to be grateful. To help with that, I would recommend we each take some time to also reflect on how difficult it can be for us to forgive others, to show mercy, and to give grace to others. Whether that's a coworker of yours who drives you crazy, or a family member who has a history of taking advantage of your generosity, or a friend who always seems to be asking for second chances, or anyone else in between. Odds are that you can think of at least a certain someone who seems to always be in need of forgiveness or mercy and grace. And it may not always be easy to give it. Sometimes we even justify not showing mercy and grace under the guise of tough love or rock bottoms and lessons that are learned the hard way. And maybe you even have what the world would deem a valid reason to not forgive that someone. But then we turn to God and not only ask, but expect forgiveness and grace and mercy, all to be given to us every time we ask, and in abundance. And it's in that juxtaposition that we can see this danger of taking God's forgiveness for granted. How is it that we can expect God to forgive us and choose not to show mercy and grace to others? Is that really how we are to forgive as we have been forgiven? And if then you can recognize how difficult it can be to forgive others, then shouldn't we all the more and even deeply appreciate the forgiveness of God? And even more broadly, beyond just the realm of forgiveness and mercy and grace, do we remember to be thankful for the very life that we have? To return to God with thanksgiving for the fact that we're alive. With everything that's happened this year, we have so much to complain about. We're tempted to complain about the inconvenience of wearing a mask, or social restrictions, or impeded schedules. And with the amount of complaining, one might be convinced that this world is just downright ungrateful for the gift of life. 250,000 have died in the U.S. from COVID-19, and as of today, 1,340,000 have died worldwide. But yet you're still here to watch this video, to live another day. God has given you a gift of life that not everyone still has. And it seems to me that given everything that's happened, we have even more reason to be thankful for the gift of life. And yet complaining is up. So this Thanksgiving holiday, rather than having a more mentality driven by Black Friday sales, and rather than sitting around the table to tally on some kind of overabundance of blessings, I ask that you take the time to first return to God with thanksgiving for the things that we might otherwise take for granted. That you remember to be thankful for the life that you've been given. That you remember to be thankful for the abundance of grace that's been given to you, and for the mercy that you have received time after time. And that we all might remember to be thankful for the forgiveness and salvation that was won for us on the cross at the very high cost of the life of Christ. One way you might help yourself to remember to return to God with thanksgiving would be to find a way and time to incorporate communion into your Thanksgiving meal. One of the earliest words for communion was Eucharist, which simply means thanksgiving. Early Christians would practice communion as a way of expressing their thankfulness to God for the sacrifice of Christ on the cross. And perhaps you can revive that connection this Thanksgiving by merging the national holiday with the ritual of communion. It might seem weird, it might seem strange or out of place, but there's a real value to be had in celebrating your Thanksgiving once a year on a holiday, and taking the time during that celebration to remember to return to God with thanksgiving too. And not just for all the things we have, or the stuff, or the sales, or the plethora of good news, but also for the things we take for granted, the things that are always there, for the forgiveness of God, and the mercy of God, and for the grace of God. But however you celebrate this year, I hope you find a reason to return to God with thanksgiving. Because especially this year, we all need that. We all need to remember that God is with us and that God has given us plenty to celebrate, even amidst so much pain and suffering. This Thanksgiving holiday, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and may God make God's face to shine upon you and give you peace.